New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our...
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the Fit and Fab channel with your host, Hurricane H. And new day, new show, new topic, new guest. And our guest today is, she's polyvalent, she's diverse in her background, she's doing a lot of things and helping a lot of people in different ways. She's a coach, she's someone who actually works with the fitness, and helping people get fit through her experiences. She's also a social media manager, I guess, an online manager. And we're going to talk about all that stuff, and she's going to guide us through this. So with me today, Athina Crilley, and she's going to guide us through her story. And she has a unique story. If you are a person who has some sort of eating disorder, or someone who does, anorexic and all those things, I think today is a great show to actually pay attention to, because we're going to talk about all those things and what it takes for someone to move from that status to a healthier person, healthier living, and a better lifestyle. So Athina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. I'm excited to have a chat with you today.
Listen, I have been waiting for long, as we booked this last year and literally a few months back. So today's the day, and we're going to cover it. I know we have very limited time, so we want to crunch in a lot of information, but we definitely want to bring the actual information here and the insights and the real message to the people who may be suffering with the eating disorders and things, like how they can convert and become, really in a better place, going through whatever they're going through right now is a tough thing, right? And your experience started with all this thing, but if you don't mind, can you guide us a little bit through your story, like how it started and what was the problem, and then how do you were able to get over it, and what got you into what you do today and helping people?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, it's such a long story. I could sit here for days and days telling you about my whole story, but to try and shorten it and get everything in. So I was first diagnosed with anorexia when I was 13, and I wouldn't say that I kind of went into recovery until I was about 20. So I suffered for about 7 years. And then even when I started recovery, it did take probably, I would say, 2 or 3 years before I kind of felt like I was fully recovered. And within those 7 years, I was hospitalized 5 times. The first one I was 13 and the last one I was 19. And the last 2 hospitalizations were on specialist eating disorder units. So I suffered for 7 years. In terms of the cause, I actually have no idea really what sort of triggered it. I know for a lot of people who have eating disorders, they can pinpoint it down to one specific sort of trigger, whether it's, losing a family member or parents divorcing. There's usually some kind of emotional trauma that triggers an eating disorder. For me, I don't really know what it was. It just kind of started as I wanted to lose a bit of weight, and I started exercising, I started cutting back on my food, and it kind of got to the point where it became obsessive and it kind of just developed into an eating disorder. In terms of my recovery, again, I can't really pinpoint it to one exact thing. I would say what really helped me to recover was having the right people around me. So when I was younger and I was sort of first diagnosed with my eating disorder, I lost a lot of my friends because eating disorders kind of make you go sort of into your shell a little bit, and that can often come across to people as, oh, she doesn't want to hang out with me, she doesn't want to speak to me, so they kind of just sort of leave you alone and just don't bother inviting you out and that kind of thing. So you end up losing a lot of your friends. So I felt like I didn't really have anybody around me. Obviously, I had the support of my parents, but apart from that, I felt very alone. And when I got to university, when I was 18, 19, I started to make better friends. I got a boyfriend for the first time, and I made the friends that I still have today. And I would say that it was really having those supportive people around me that genuinely cared about me that really helped me to recover. And I would suggest anybody, if they are suffering, to try and build a support network, try and, talk to the people around you. And people do care about you, even though it might not seem like that. And just speaking to them and being open with them can really, really help.
Well, thank you so much for that the debrief on a little bit of a very long journey and very difficult journey, I would say. But so I think I want to just break down a couple elements there, and one being, it started early on for you. You said 13, and that is a very difficult age. I mean, in general, that's a teenage mode, and there's so many things going on in any child at that time, or any young person at that time will have different things that they're going through in terms of emotions and the hormones. Everything is kicking, right? And it's also where there's so much stuff going on in school. so you said it perfectly. The fact that you were there and you almost kind of collapsed on yourself, and you just kind of became a loner, and people did not want to be around you, or you didn't want to be around them. That must have been a difficult experience, which is not easy. I'm sure it was tough, and just going through it until the university level, that's pretty. That's a lot, I mean, to take at that age, and I can relate, to, because I have my kids are teenagers right now, and it's a tough age. So that is a very, very difficult thing. And anyone listening, watching, if your children, if you are going through something like this, I mean, it may not be easy, but here's the good news. I mean, Athina did make it, and she turned everything around, and we're going to talk about some of the things that she put in and what kind of work she did to change it. But one of the things you mentioned already is the support group. She finally found the people that can really make a difference in her life and take her for whoever she was, and that's a big deal. So that's the first element I want just to kind of break down. The other one is, you said it clearly. I mean, normally anorexia is something that can be triggered emotionally with different events in life that can make someone really just want to change, and obviously not eat a lot, and certainly that has a little bit of a health impact. Now, you did mention something about 7 hospitalizations. Athina?
Yeah. No, sorry, 5.
5. I'm sorry. Okay. Somehow I don't know. I miscounted again. but 5 hospitalizations, all because of the condition itself. There was no illness other than the fact that your body probably is weak, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea behind hospitalization when you have an eating disorder is to try and tackle but the physical and the mental side of the illness. I mean, eating disorders are mental health disorders, so the focus really should be on the mind and the mental health, but you do also follow like a strict meal plan to help you gain weight as well. So it's kind of tackling both areas.
Thank you. So just to break down a little bit more, I know it's the factors can vary from one person to the other, but going through that first journey, the first 7 years, obviously it was gradual, right? You said you started just trying to work out more, and then you just eating less and less and less. But as you were doing that, I mean, you were conscious about that, correct?
Yeah.
So really, you actually are the driver behind the seat, in a way, because you could have stopped, but somehow you weren't able to. And were there any factors that kind of limited you, like really, or is it just your body just basically didn't want anymore to eat more nutrients and food and things like that? Because eventually you were able to change, so something had changed later on. Do you have an idea of what that was, that kind of the trigger point where, besides the fact that you were weak and you had to get into hospital to really recuperate and things like that, was there anything else that you because I mean, I'm sure you didn't want just to let go. You were holding on, and you did, but at the same time, it took a minute to get there. But whatever it is, you were still going through it personally. For someone that's going through that experience right now, and they don't even know what the end game is, what would you tell them? How would you advise them, to deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough. I mean, just to go back to what you said, it is a choice for me, it was a choice at the start. I was choosing to exercise. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to lose fat, and it was a choice. But then when you develop an eating disorder, it gets to a point where you don't think it's a choice anymore, and it's a compulsion. You feel like you have to exercise, you have to restrict. It's not like like most of the people that you speak to with an eating disorder won't be happy where they are. They don't want an eating disorder, but it's like a compulsion, and you kind of feel like you have to. It's so difficult to explain, but if somebody is in that position, I think the number one thing I would say really is that recovery is possible and you will recover one day, but it's going to take time. Recovering from an eating disorder can take years and years, and it's not something that can be rushed or forced. And I think a lot of the time it's about, like I said before, like building that network of people around you that are going to have your best interest in their hearts. And you might need professional help as well. You might need to go into hospital, you might need to see a therapist, and those things are totally fine as well. I think it's just about accepting that things do need to change and trying to let other people around you help you to recover, because it would be really difficult if you tried to do it all on your own.
Well, thank you, Athena. I mean, again, it is a fact. I mean, I can give you something. I mean, I'm a lonely child, right? I mean, I have no brothers, no sisters, and I grew up pretty much by myself, and sometimes, you do want people around you, and I do believe that anyone can do anything on their own without any help in this world, right? We do need the help, and we do need that moral support. We do need that, just, someone to soundboard, like, someone to listen to you and give you some good advice and be there. Maybe not even give you advice, but just be there for you. And you're right. When we collapse and we close ourselves to that, sometimes it's really just me, myself, and I concept, right? So it's just you, and you don't know everything. You don't know how to, get the guidance, because you're asking yourself, but you're already the one who's in charge right now. And so it makes it a little difficult unless you have those folks. And you mentioned it originally when you did this yourself, in terms of like it was an ambition to lose weight, and then it just got into this status. You also kind of excluded yourself from the rest, because for whatever reason that's just was right at the time. And maybe someone listening and watching right now, or either whether they're the kids or themselves, and it could be at any age too. This could be a problem where if you just decide to do this, you probably are just going to be hurting yourself. But if you're, you have to trust people to a degree. I mean, you don't trust, openly everyone, but you have to surround yourself with the right ones, and hopefully you can vet them out, correctly. And you would know. I mean, people, it's very easy to know who's good for you, who's not in your circles. If they're there and they listen, they support you, there's no judgment, those are the people you want, right? That encourage you, empower you, and they're like standing for you, not fake, real, and those are the ones that stand by you no matter what. And as long as you have that circle of, friends and support system, you can do things. Of course, if this is, somebody who is experiencing anorexia at an older age, maybe it's different, because their mature is different. But when someone is younger, the parents are there, but the parents also struggle, because it's hard sometimes to understand the teenage mentality, for example, right? And you have to adjust with them, and that could be a little bit more difficult. But someone that is in the same age group, someone that understands, what you're going through at that time, will probably be more, appropriate for that. But you did eventually found the right people. And what, if you don't mind, what was the main characteristic of those people? Because I kind of covered a few, but what would be your description of the right people?
The right people for what? Sorry.
Well, the right people to support you, that actually make a difference that made a difference in your life, or can make a difference in somebody else's life. When you're selecting your group of support, what would be some characteristics and attributes you would want to look for?
I would say, I mean, a lot of the time it's going to be the people that are already around you. So, you know, your parents, maybe siblings, close family members, close friends, therapists, dietitians, doctors, the people that have sort of been with you from the start and know what you're going through. It's just a case of like leaning on them and not being afraid to tell people how you feel or tell people what is going on inside your head, because if you don't speak to people about your thoughts and feelings, it can become even more isolating and
Mhm.
it can then become even harder to recover. So just the people that are already around you, really.
But you said, I mean, the key is that they're willing to listen to you and you can talk to, and that's important. So I think we'll take that as the main characteristics. And you made it very easy because you're right. These people do exist. The question is just whether you're allowing them or not. If you close the doors, I mean, that's a difficult story, right? It's going to be a harder element. Now you started this journey with a potential, weight loss kind of, venture, right? So what would you say to people, and what kind of guidance would you give to people that are wanting to lose weight, and how to do that without them getting into an anorexic, status?
I think again it's so difficult. I think when it comes to weight loss, it needs to be healthy and sustainable, and you shouldn't sort of go into it thinking I want to lose as much weight as possible as quickly as possible and exercise for hours every day. Like, it needs to be sort of smaller changes that are things that you could continue for a long time, and not just sort of like a crash diet or a excessive exercise. And I think that's the best, most healthy way to go about it.
So basically, people have to do it in a very, defined way, and with a plan. It cannot be sudden. It has to be, a combination of a bunch of things, and no, like, immediate diets, and you just want to drop, drastically the weight. You want to be able to have some sort of a lifestyle, that encompasses a little bit of weight, balance, eating healthy, gym exercise, and even exercise maybe could be more than just regular aerobics and things like that. It could be also weight training and things like that. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I think weight training is one of the best ways to lose weight. And it's also, alongside helping you to lose fat, it can also help you to build muscle, which is really good for you and really healthy in the long term. So I think if people are looking to lose weight, they should focus on resistance training and strength training. And if someone's going through recovery from anorexia,
Mhm.
resistance training, weight training can be one of the best forms of exercise, as opposed to cardio, because when you are very malnourished, so when you've suffered with an eating disorder for a while, you can start to lose a lot of muscle, because the body basically sort of breaks down this muscle for energy when you're not eating enough. Um, Eventually, that doesn't happen straight away, but it does over time. So when you're recovering, it can be really helpful to follow a strength training program to regain some of the muscle that you've lost. So yeah, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're well into your recovery, resistance training can be great for both scenarios.
So Athena, so what I'm getting from you is that the resistance training, weight training helps grow muscle, and so you don't lose your mass, and so you kind of balance while you diet. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, this is like a whole podcast episode in itself, but
Sure.
if you want to lose weight, a lot of people go straight into cardio and they'll just do loads of cardio. But actually, resistance training is a lot more. You can burn a lot more calories with the resistance training, basically because muscle tissue uses more calories than fat tissue does, just on a day-to-day basis. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest, if that makes sense. So that can make it easier for you to lose weight. And then on the other side, if you are recovering, resistance training is like the one and only way to regain that muscle that you've lost. So it's just really good all round, to be honest.
And by the way, I've heard that before. We've had, a couple of guests that discussed a little bit more of that. And you're right. I mean, it's a combination, and you're right. It gives you a little bit more. But it's funny because there are a lot of diets right now, right? There's different diets. There are different, gym format, gym methods, fitness methods. Some people use cardio. There's some intermittent fasting. These are different combinations that people can use. But really, when you think about it, it has to be a little bit of, all. It's not just one versus the other. If you do something, which is, I think, a mistake sometimes people make, they want to drop weight fast and they take the extreme measures. And then to your point, they just lose their weight, but then they crash and they can't maintain it. And eventually they gain back. And sometimes even it's worse. So there's balance, and everything is important, right? And, it's understanding those dynamics, what every exercise, what every form is going to give you and how it's going to impact your body. I think that's the key. And folks have, the ability to research. I mean, there's podcasts, as you said, we can have a whole podcast about weight loss here, but really there's different things. There is, coaches. You're a coach, right? You're a recovery coach as well. And you help people. Some of the people you probably are assisting, have similar problems, right? In terms of eating disorders or mass, weight that they want to adjust. How do you handle them? What kind of, help? How do you work with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still kind of am a coach, but I've not got any clients at the moment because I just don't have the time. But in the past, I have trained, like you said, like a range of different people depending on their needs. It's been either people who want to lose weight, people who are going through recovery from anorexia and they're looking for, some guidance on what to eat, how to exercise during recovery. So generally my role would involve supporting them, creating sort of flexible meal plans, creating a training program, and just checking in with them every week to see how they are. Because again, it's not just about, creating the meal plan and saying, there you go off and follow it. It's also about having that support. And it goes back to what I said at the start, is having people around you that are going to support you through whatever your goal is, whether it is anorexia recovery, whether it's weight loss. So that was really like my role as a coach, and it's something I still love doing, and I'd love to do in the future when I have the time. And yeah, so I guess that was sort of like the main parts of my role.
All right. Well, that's a big part, and ultimately it is rewarding because you specifically going through what you've gone, you can see the value of having, the guidance, and you can almost explain it from a place of understanding because you were there. And that's important. So that takes me to the next question, which is, all this, points out to mindset change, right? Shift. What would you say about, the state of the mindset, to help, kind of change the status quo from one end to the other here?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So what would you say the importance of the mindset in the shift here between, someone who's suffering, through anorexia or anything, to really get, and establish, the real results?
Yeah, I mean, it is all about mindset. Like I said, anorexia is a mental health disorder, so you can't recover without changing your mindset. And it's something that would, it can take years to change your mindset from one to the other. And I think a lot of it's going to be quite difficult to do that on your own. And I think I would always recommend someone to try therapy and see if that works for them. It doesn't work for everybody. But a lot of people see a lot of progress by talking to a therapist and, going through maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, something like that, to try and tackle their thoughts and change those thoughts from negative to positive. So I'd always say maybe try therapy and see if that works. And things like journaling, mindfulness, meditation, a lot of those things I'm not saying they can help you to recover on their own. Meditating isn't going to recover you from anorexia on its own, but it can be part of a healthy sort of recovery program. So I would say sort of those things, really.
Thank you. Well, so the first thing that everybody needs to actually be aware of is really themselves, and that they have a situation that they're in, right? Before someone reach out to any therapist, or even get into a rehab format, or some sort of a cure or diet or anything, or exercise, sometimes people are in denial, right? And they're not seeing what's happening until it's a little bit too late. I think that's the big deal. So that takes me back to the question earlier about to the point of eating disorder. I mean, at what point someone really realizes that they have an eating disorder? So based on your experience, I'm sure there was a point where you realized this is not happening, and then you started making the changes, right? And I think a lot of people are listening and watching right now. They may be in a situation where they're like, I'm in denial. I have no problems. I'm good. This is how I want to be. Yet it's having an adverse reaction into their body, and it's really not healthy for them. And sometimes it could be too late when they realize that, oops, I missed the boat on this one. I should have start early. Now, there's never missing a boat, because you can always start any given time, but sometimes it can be harder to come back if you get to a point of almost no return, right? And then it's a lot more difficult to do that at that point. But there is a point in life where you can, like, wait a minute, something is off here. I'm not really doing this right. And now I have to make decisions. And you're right. Maybe the support group that's around me can give me the, dude, lady, you got to do something about this. Something's off here. You need to see a specialist, a therapist. Someone can give you, a good opinion, that is informed opinion, scientific opinion, medical opinion, whatever the case may be. So the idea that someone has been suffering can stop at any given time, providing that they're willing to really look into it. If they don't, there is no one that can make them see it, because sometimes we kind of blind ourselves. We just don't want to see the truth, and that's a problem. What would you say to that, based on your experience?
Yeah, so to sort of go off what you said there, I mean, you do get to a point where you know that this is not normal, but by that point, it's already too late. It's so it's so difficult to explain this, but it's not like when you are diagnosed with an eating disorder, it's not a case of, okay, I know something's wrong. Okay, let's just change. Because it's not that simple. You can't just flip a switch and go, okay, well, I'm going to stop exercising and I'll start eating normally as of tomorrow. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's a mental health condition. It's just like going up to someone with depression and saying, just be happy tomorrow. Or, going up to someone with DID and saying, oh, well, just stop hearing voices. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't just sort of say, oh, I know something's wrong, so I'm just going to change. And that's why it takes so many years for people with eating disorders to actually recover, because it's like this deep-rooted it's like this mindset shift, and it becomes so difficult to get out of that mindset. And you really only can get out of that mindset by doing all the things that we've mentioned in the podcast, the support network, therapy, hospitalization. Like, it's so difficult. It is possible, but it's very difficult.
Thank you, Athina. So now let's talk about, your journey got you into writing a book, and the book is to kind of almost shed light on what this whole dilemma of anorexia is and how to deal with it, some of the things. Can you tell us more about what is the book, what's the name, and when it was published, and as well as what's some of the key messages in the book?
Yeah, sure. So my book, I wrote it was in 2019 that I wrote it, and it was published in sort of late 2019. So I wanted to write this book. I remember thinking about writing this book literally when I was still, going through my eating disorder, and I wanted to write something. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to write a book about this if I ever do fully recover. And, I thought, when I got to 2019, I'd been recovered for a couple of years, and I thought, now's the time to write it. And I wanted to write the book basically to show people that are suffering that recovery is possible. And even though it might feel like recovery isn't possible at the time, it really is. So I kind of wanted it to be just like a sort of an inspirational book. And it's called Diaries of an Anorexic because I inserted real life sort of entries from my journal. So I used to write a journal when back in the day when I was, going through my eating disorder, and I wanted to include those sort of bits of the journal in the book to really convey like the emotions that I was feeling at the time when I was going through my eating disorder. And I think the key message of the whole book really is that recovery is possible, and anybody can recover. Even though it might not feel at the time like you can recover, it is fully possible.
Well, that's leading me to the ultimate question for today, is that, no matter what circumstances, no matter what problems, and no matter what disorders, at the end of the day, we have to keep positive and keep a very, very, good outlook about life. And we need to know that if we're willing to make, the necessary steps and take the necessary steps and make the effort, we will change things. And you're right, this is an inspiration. I mean, your story is as you started, in a bad, place, you have, turned things around, and now you are true inspiration to a lot of folks that may be seeing themselves at the end of the line here, and they're not sure what to do. You can bring them back. I mean, listen, you did it. It can be done. Many people are doing it. Many people are making it happen and turning things around. And that is really a true goal of what we do, even here in terms of the station, is that we want to share with people the ability to realize that, no matter what you're going through, things can get better. You will prevail. Things will change. You just have to find a way and, use different, whatever tools available out there. And listening to this podcast maybe can help, talking to a therapist can help. Reading the book is an important piece because, someone can relate to your story, closer, right? And then they can see like, wow, I can do this. And that can be the point where they can start a new life and really enjoy a healthier life for the future, and maybe even become an inspiration themselves to others. So I want to thank you for that. I mean, because the book itself, just the name, is just talking about your story, and you can tell it's your own, it's diaries, your notes, right? And listening to your story right now, it is clear that you've gone through tough times, but you've made it. And you're leading, a very, very active life now. I mean, that takes me also to the next point, which is, how do you do this, all this stuff? And, you're also busy in the media, the social media world, and you're doing stuff like that. And if you can take us a little bit on that one, I know we're running out of time, but if you can take us a little bit about that part of it. But before we get to that, just a couple of inspiration words, just to relate to what I just said. Anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly. It is about staying positive, and that's much easier said than done. But I do really just want to drive home that recovery is possible, and just be patient with it, because recovery is really, really, it's probably it is the most difficult thing that people will ever go through if they have an eating disorder. It is. I can say that with confidence for everybody, because it's so difficult, and it takes a long time and a lot of determination. You will have a lot of bumps along the way, but it is possible. So that's kind of like what I'd love to finish on. And in terms of like what I do, so honestly, I don't really know myself how I find time to do everything, because I'm actually a full-time writer. So I have a lot of different clients, and I write for their websites, and I write ebooks for people, that kind of thing. I'm also a podcaster myself. I have the podcast Finding My Fit. So I manage and produce that myself. And yeah, I also do a bit of social media management. So yeah, a lot of different things. And I think I would say I stay on top of it just by, I don't know, really. I think I just write a to-do list every morning, and I try and, work hard. I work a lot of hours. I work like 7 days a week. So that's probably how I get it all in. So yeah, that's me really.
Well, look, Athina, I mean, you are doing a lot, and you know what? For anyone watching and listening right now, I mean, just understand that no matter where you are today, you can make a difference. You can change. You can do more, and you will, as long as you're willing to. Right? You have all the tools, the inspiration out there in the world that you need. You just have to open to it and, absorb it, like literally receive it, and that's about it. Because Athina has gone through a lot, and now she's full of energy, full of different tasks and things that she's doing to help the world. I mean, you're helping people, and you're right. Doing podcasts not easy. Doing what you do every day and managing different projects, and it takes time. But that's the other thing. I mean, we invest in our time, we invest in stuff, but the end result is that we're helping people, and that's the bottom line. And anyone can help themselves, and also eventually help others. And that's really, personally, that's my message.
Yeah, I love that message to finish on, definitely.
Well, listen, I know we've done a little bit of a sprint here on this show because of our time, restriction here. But so I want to again thank you for the time and sharing with us your story and some of the key guidances here and points and really inspirational pieces that people can take home. Athina, thank you so much for your time and for really everything that we've covered here. And folks, I want to thank you for being with us today and listening, watching on iHealth, the iHealth channel, listening on iHealth Radio. And again, your host, Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New show, new guest, new topic. Bye for now.